In this video, I'll provide a brief overview of the data file structure of IBM SPSS. SPSS is a software package that allows you to generate charts and graphs and run statistical analyses. The first step is to open the SPSS application and your data file. I'll go through this procedure and then show you the parts of a data file. Before launching SPSS, make sure that the data file is accessible. The file resides in UB Learns in the Lab Assignments folder. The easiest way to access it is to copy it to a thumb drive and bring the thumb drive to lab. SPSS runs on the Windows platform in our computer lab. To begin, click on the Start button in the lower left corner, and then choose All Programs. From this menu, select IBM SPSS Statistics. You'll know that the application is launching when you see this screen. The landing page asks you what you would like to do. If you've opened the file before, it will show up under Recent Files. Since you haven't, select Open Another File. You'll see a drop-down menu of possible sources for the file. One of those should be your thumb drive, which may be labeled USB device or removable disk. Open the thumb drive and select the data file. You may also be able to open the file and launch SPSS directly from UB Learns. However, you'll need a storage device for your output, so I would recommend accessing the file from a thumb drive. The opened data file will either look like this from Data View or this from Variable View. These are the two ways of viewing the data file. Note that the file extension for SPSS data files is always SAV. I'll start with the Data View. Rows represent cases, so each row of the data file represents all the data for one study subject. The data for Subject 8 are highlighted here. Columns represent variables, so each column contains all the values for a given variable. The variable names appear at the top of the column, so you can see that the variables are gender, ethnicity, degree, and so on. Cells contain values. Unlike spreadsheets, such as Excel, they do not contain formulas. Each cell contains a single value of a variable for a specific case or subject. Subject number 3 has a value of 1 for gender and 3.43 for GPA. GPA is a measured variable, and gender is categorical. We cannot tell whether Subject 3 is a male or female from looking at the data in Data View because we don't know what a 1 represents. For that information, we go to Variable View. You can toggle back and forth between Data View and Variable View by just clicking on the other icon. Variable View gives you information about how the data file is set up. This file has been created for you, but if you are entering your own data in SPSS, you must create this information. I'm going to explain what many of these columns mean, but these 6 are of absolutely no interest. I've grayed them out so that we can ignore them and focus on the 5 that are important. The first column, Name, is simply a short name given to the variable. The number of characters you can use for the variable name is limited. The purpose of the Label column is to allow a more detailed name if needed. Decimals indicate how many characters are needed to the right of the decimal place. GPA is measured to 2 decimal places, but starting salary is measured in whole numbers. Note also that these values are in thousands of dollars, which will be important to remember. Values are used with categorical data to indicate what the numbers stand for. Area of study is a nominal variable. By clicking on this cell, we'll see what these values are. A Value Labels window opens, and we see that there are 4 values for the variable area of study. When we do a statistical procedure with this variable, the value labels will appear in the output. Without labels, Only the numeric values would be displayed. Measure tells SPSS the measurement scale for each variable. Nominal and ordinal are options, but interval and ratio are both considered scale, or quantitative. To summarize, you launch SPSS from the Start menu by selecting All Programs, and then IBM SPSS Statistics. Once the program is open, SPSS will ask you to select the data file of interest. SPSS is a statistical analysis program, and the data are set up in a particular way. Rows represent cases, and columns represent variables. In addition to values for each variable for all subjects, the SPSS data file includes additional information, such as value labels for categorical variables and the level of measurement for all variables. In Part 2, I'll talk about how to select statistical procedures and to choose variables for those procedures.